Welcome to Sports Talk.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Talking About Sports. I'm Jackson.
I'm Nick.
And today we are going to be doing and going over Nick's 2021 quarterback prospect grades. So take a seat, grab a snack, and enjoy the show.
Yeah, no, this is going to be a long one. I mean, there's a lot of good quarterbacks in this year's draft. I think that this quarterback draft may be one of the richest drafts we have seen in quite some time. So sit down, relax, enjoy the show. As I'm going to break it down, I get a good track record, and we'll jump right into that as soon as we go. So let's hop right into it, where we're going to go over this little PowerPoint we put together for you so you guys can see my exact rating. So let's hop right into it, and let's go.
All right, what's going on, guys? So as you see, we just jumped right into the PowerPoint presentation on 2021 quarterback prospects by our analyst, Nick. So let's just jump right into Nick's track record. Nick, go ahead.
Thank you, Jackson. So here we go. Going all the way back to 2018 when I really started taking scouting seriously, especially for the quarterback position. As you can see, in 2018, this was the way I ranked my 2018 NFL quarterbacks. Number one guy, you look there, is Josh Allen, right? I thought this guy had the most potential for sure coming out of the draft. A lot of people were knocking Josh Allen because of his inconsistencies, his inaccuracies, and all that stuff. But the one thing that everyone forgot about is that you can't teach arm strength. This guy can throw a ball, I guarantee you, probably 80 yards at least through the air. I mean, it's honestly incredible what Josh Allen can do. So he was my by far number one ranked quarterback prospect coming out of 2018, followed by Lamar Jackson, who also, again, a lot of analysts were saying that maybe he should swap positions, this, that, and the other thing, but I had him ranked high. I had him with a lot of potential. The third guy you see there, a lot of people might say, well, Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, in my opinion, was the most NFL-ready quarterback, and I still stand by that decision. Go all the way back to when Sam Darnold was drafted to the Jets. They were the least NFL-ready team at the time, okay? And the most NFL-ready quarterback going to the least NFL-ready team, yeah, that's not a good comparison. So when he got there, he can only do so much, and you still see that to this day. They don't have a lot of weapons around someone like Sam Darnold. So, I mean, I'm still standing by that decision. The next guy was Baker Mayfield. My scouting analysis was on him was he's a hell of a quarterback. But the thing that I said about him is that he can change a culture of a team around with his personality, and I think we saw him do that with Cleveland. And last but not least, Josh Rosen. Josh Rosen was my quarterback bust in 2018. I was all over that. And as we can all tell today, the guy might have not been given a fair chance, but I do think that he ended up being the bust. Go to 2019, right? Everyone had Kyler Murray ranked 1, so I'm not jumping on a bandwagon. I mean, this is just what happened. Kyler Murray was 1. I also had him ranked 1, so there's no big steal there. But number 2, I did have Daniel Jones, and a lot of people kind of knocked me for that. I remember when Giants took him with their first pick, and everyone was going crazy. And I said, listen, if that's your guy, that's your guy. Go take him now. And I think that he was better than Dwayne Haskins and Drew Lock. I still think that we can say that to this day that he is. Third guy on the list was Drew Lock. And the last guy was Dwayne Haskins. And right now we all know what happened to Dwayne Haskins. He's sitting as a backup, really, honestly, potentially third string for the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. And finally, the 2020 NFL draft. Again, Justin Herbert was my number 1. And everyone knocked me for Justin Herbert being 1. Me and Mike was a guy that was all over Herbert for years, so I got to give him credit too. Justin Herbert, man, when I watched him, his film exploded. And I remember people saying this guy was going to be a bust, but we all know what he turned out to be. He turned out to be the best quarterback in the 2020 NFL draft. I had him followed by Joe Burrow. After Joe Burrow, I had Jordan Love, who we're yet to see, so we'll have to wait and see if that pans out to be correct. I had Tua ranked as my 4th quarterback. We did a big 3, me and Mike did on a video. It was a boom, bust, an average guy. My boom was Herbert. My bust was Tua. Added ranking Herbert, Burrow, and Tua together. So that's that little info there. Next guy is Jacob Eason. I think Jacob Eason to be a hell of a quarterback as well. Had some personality problems, but besides that, I think he's a solid quarterback. We'll have to wait and see if he ever gives an opportunity. Jalen Hurts, and then Jake Fromm was my bust going in 2020. I don't think that a lot of people really disagree with that. But let's hop in right now to my 2021. So, Jackson, I'll let you take it away. Go ahead.
Yeah, so you see, Nick's got a pretty solid track record, so he definitely knows what he's talking about. But let's just keep this thing rolling. Let's go take a look at the grading scale.
Absolutely. So this is my grading scale. This is a scale I'll use for every single quarterback. As you see, I'll look at their in-game throwing. This is just their in-game throwing when I study the film. Okay, I look at the throw power. That's how much zip they put on the ball, how much zest they put on it, how fast it travels, how hard the velocity, I should say, is. How fast is the ball traveling through the air from point A to point B? That's throw power. Arm strength. How far is the guy throwing the football downfield? Again, I do consider throw power more than arm strength. Arm strength, how often are we going to really see a guy heave the ball 80 yards downfield? Not often, but it's something to look at. So I do got arm strength is how far someone can throw the ball. Pocket awareness. Okay, this is something that's very tough to teach, so it's good to have. Pocket mobility, accuracy. I mean, you guys know what that means. Touch. How much touch they throw with the ball, throw on the run, anticipation, decision-making. How well do they throw it inside a tight window? Or are they throwing people open? That's tight window. Mental adjustments. Are they making audibles at the line of scrimmage that the coach isn't telling them, but they're doing by themselves? And last but not least, mobility. Are they mobile? And a lot of these are newly added things that I'm using just this year that I didn't use in prior years. So I did add a bunch of grading scales that I didn't have once before. Again, the current grades that you're going to see are only after film study, not after pro days and combine. I still got to factor that in there. And once I do that, we'll be making another video of me breaking down these guys. But Jackson, I'll bring it right back to you. Go ahead.
All right, as you see, guys, right there, that's what Nick is going to be grading these quarterbacks on. So I think we're ready to jump right into it. Let's look at our first guy. Nick, what are your thoughts on Trevor Lawrence out of Clemson?
Absolutely. So Trevor Lawrence is currently my number one rated guy. All right. I gave him an 80 as his grade. And these grades go up to 100. If you score 100, you scored a perfect score on every single one of my scales. An 80 is very solid, okay? Very solid on this year's scale. You look here, Trevor Lawrence. I mean, the guy's a national champ. He's a leader, okay? He's great at making decisions. He has great touch, and he's more mobile than a lot of people are thinking. I mean, this guy is absolutely incredible with the way he's able to use his feet. The issue with Trevor Lawrence is, and that a lot of people don't want to mention because of his long list of attributes and what this guy can do, are his inconsistencies and his throwing motions, right? So he sometimes has a tendency to not throwing as accurate as we would like to see. His throwing motion has really long arms. Sometimes it takes him a while to get from point A to point B with the ball, so it takes him a little bit of time to deliver a pass when people like Zach Wilson, who I'll be mentioning next, get the ball out like that, okay? And last but not least, mechanics. You guys are probably like, what are you talking about? No, Trevor Lawrence had some bad mechanics, and that's just the truth. The guy's very talented. He's 6'6", big body guy, strong guy. But the issue is that sometimes when you have these physicals, right, sometimes you get lazy with their mechanics. And when you watch film on Trevor Lawrence, sometimes his mechanics are not as good as some of the other guys that I'm going to mention later on in this video. So again, his strengths, he's a national champion. He's a leader. His decision-making, his touch, his mobility. His weaknesses, honestly, are his inconsistencies, his throwing motion, and his mechanics. But this guy is absolutely deserving of the first overall pick. I think you can write that into Jacksonville right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, let's just keep going with it. Let's go look at an in-depth breakdown of Trevor Lawrence.
All right, yeah, so my in-depth breakdown, I grade these guys then into three separate categories. Their throwing grade, their mobility grade, and then their awareness grade. Okay, so here you go. You see exactly what Trevor Lawrence ranked on all three. His throwing grade for me was at 83%, okay, which ranks pretty high. That means that he scored 83% out of the 100 possible points. So 83 of the 100 points that were possible, that's a pretty good grade for Trevor Lawrence there. Mobility grade 71. Again, that's pretty high. You guys might think that's low. No, that's pretty high for my scale. And then the awareness grade's at a 79%. Again, very good. He's pretty good with his decision-making, his pocket awareness, and so on and so forth. So again, I think that Trevor Lawrence is a very safe pick at the number one selection.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go to the next slide here. So it's going to be basically just a breakdown of basically all the grades here of Trevor Lawrence. If you guys want to pause, take a look at it, comment down what you guys think. But we're just going to jump right into the next guy, BYU's Zach Wilson.
Absolutely. So again, if you want to take a picture, look at this, go ahead. Like Jackson said, these were my grades on Trevor Lawrence. Now you got this guy, Zach Wilson. And let me tell you something. You see a lot of strengths on him because there's a lot to love about Zach Wilson. Again, he's ranked my second quarterback according to my grading chart. He got a 79 for his final grade. His strengths. I mean, this guy has a massive arm. You want to talk about a guy that can rip one downfield? Yeah, it's Zach Wilson. This guy on film, I saw him throw the ball 72 yards in the air. Okay, I think that ranks top 3 in the NFL right now, behind probably Josh Allen and right around Patrick Mahomes for biggest arm who can throw it the farthest. He makes NFL ready throws. Go back to Trevor Lawrence. They kind of keep it a little cute for Trevor Lawrence in a college-like system. A lot of screen passes, dinks, dunks. Give it to Travis Etienne. Let him break for a touchdown. These are things that you see on film that kind of scare you and say, well, did Trevor Lawrence do exactly what we wanted to see him do? You look at someone like Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson's ripping the ball on out routes, corner routes, in routes, slants, post, corner routes. All these NFL-ready throws that you want to see. He's in an NFL system right now in BYU. It is very like the NFL, and you see him make NFL-ready throws. It's honestly incredible. If you turn on film on Zach Wilson, the throws that he's able to make, his timing, his anticipation is just incredible. The next thing I want to talk about is quick release. Compared to Trevor Lawrence, like I said, has a really long wind-up before he releases. Sometimes that can get scary, especially if you don't have a great offensive line. Zach Wilson, quick release, really quick release. He gets it from point A to point B very quickly. So you gotta like that too. Progressions. He goes through his progressions really well too. So that's something else that I like to see. So when that goes through for 1, 2, 3 and fires a ball in there, he's really good with that. Great awareness, really good awareness. He's able to decipher plays at the line of scrimmage is so much more. He's a film junkie. You see it down here. So that helps with his awareness. He's very mobile. You'll see him run a lot of RPOs and take some scrambles outside the pocket himself. Very good with that. And his anticipation may be my favorite part about Zach Wilson. A lot of quarterbacks don't throw with anticipation, and that's what separates the good ones from the great ones. You look at Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers never had the arm talent that Zach Wilson possesses, didn't have all these special traits that Zach Wilson has with his mobility and all this, but Phillip Rivers, what made him so great was his anticipation. Imagine Zach Wilson, who has all that arm talent, plus the amazing anticipation that it reminds me of Phillip Rivers. That's who it reminds me of. So all that together is making Zach Wilson a really great prospect. The two weaknesses for Zach Wilson is his decision-making, right? Sometimes he made some questionable decisions for sure, throwing balls across his body, but I'm going to be honest with you, he has the arm talent to do it, and his injury history is coming off of a shoulder injury, so that's something to look into as well, but that's all for him, so I'll let you take over again.
Yeah, so there were the strengths and weaknesses of Zach Wilson with a quarterback grade of a 79. Nick, can you give us more of an in-depth breakdown of Zach Wilson?
Absolutely. So the in-depth breakdown, here we go. You see the throwing grade. I gave him an 81% he scored on my sheet, which is, again, very high compared to, I don't know what Trevor Lawrence, I think Trevor Lawrence was what, 83 was it? If you don't let me know in a second. I'll let you get back to that. But my mobility grade for Zach Wilson's a 75%, which is pretty high too. And I think he grades the highest for awareness grade at a 79%. This guy, his football IQ is absolutely insane. I love the way this guy is able to decipher plays at the line. Jackson, did you find a throwing grade for him exactly?
Yeah, it was 83% for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, so he ranks very high on those lists too. You guys can go back, rewind, do whatever you want to do to see the in-depth pictures. But there you go. Here are the 3 categories for Zach Wilson. You get to see a little bit of what he brings to the table. Jackson, go ahead.
Yep, so the next slide is, again, it's going to be a letter grade for each of the grading scale categories. So if you guys want to pause and take a look at that. But let's jump into the next guy here. We're going to go look at Texas A&M's quarterback, Kellen Mond.
Kellen Mond. This guy is somebody, Jackson, you knew it. A lot of people knew it. This guy is a little special. I'm going to be honest with you. Nobody's talking about him. I wouldn't be surprised if he is honestly the 4th quarterback taken off the board. I got him ranked as my 3rd quarterback. Listen, when you turn on the film with this guy, his mechanics are flawless. He is like that textbook kind of thrower. I mean, mechanically wise, he holds the ball right to his chest, and I'll show you a demonstration at the end of this video exactly how he holds a football, but he puts zip on the football. I mean, he puts some zest. It kind of reminds me of Justin Herbert a little bit with how much zip he puts on it. The velocity he puts on his balls is honestly incredible. Pocket awareness, very good in the pocket, realizing when people are coming after him, and he's very good at being pocket mobile. He's very good in the mobility aspect of being in the pocket, stepping up, running, taking off with the ball at times. His touch, phenomenal. Another thing that's very, very good about Kellen Mond. Anticipation. This guy throws with great anticipation. I mean, the things that you want to see on our quarterbacks, great zip, pocket awareness, pocket mobility. You want to see that they can throw one downfield. and anticipation. And this is something that this guy can do. He throws it before the receivers break in out of the routes, and he gets it there on point in all time. Another thing we're going to see here is tight window. He squeezes it into tight windows. And like I said, his mechanics are flawless. The weakness is, or honestly, he's too mechanical and he plays too tight. This meaning sometimes he's too technical. Sometimes he holds the ball too properly, right? We see Pat Mahomes holding it with one hand. We see Aaron Rodgers flicking it with one hand. It seems like Kellen Mond sometimes is trying to be overwhelmingly mechanically sound rather than playing a little bit of backyard football. Sometimes you want to see the quarterback pull the football down and take off and feel a little bit more comfortable. The only thing that concerns me about this Kellen Mond kid, honestly, is how mechanical and how tight he is with the football. Sometimes you just got to loosen up, and I think this is something that Kellen Mond will do over time as he becomes more comfortable playing the quarterback position in the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely. So we see Kellen Mond here rated at a 77, the third-rated quarterback on Nick's list. So maybe he's a big sleeper in the NFL draft. We'll have to wait and see what happens. So let's go look at an in-depth breakdown of Kellen Mond.
Here we go again. So the in-depth breakdown. I mean, he scored a really high throwing grade for me at 81%. His mobility grade was at 71% because I'm going to be honest with you. I think he needs to learn to run more. He's a great runner when he takes off with the ball. It's just that he doesn't do it enough. And like I said, I think that's because he's really trying to be that throw first quarterback, which you got to love. I love when I see a throw first quarterback. The quarterback position, guess what you got to do, Jackson? You got to throw the football. So it's throw first, run second, and that's what he is. I just want to see him, if nothing's there, pull it down sooner and take off running. I think that will make him that much better. And his awareness grade, he's sort of 73% for me too. Again, that's going to go up as time goes on. I think this guy might honestly be one of the, if not the biggest sleeper in this year's upcoming draft.
Yeah, absolutely. You see Kellen Mond's up there with some of the big dogs on this list so far. So let's go take a look at the breakdown of the letter grade of each of the categories on the grading scale. Again, like I'm saying, if you guys want to pause and take a look at it and let us know what you think in the comment section. But let's just jump right in here to Ohio State's quarterback, Justin Fields.
Yeah, Justin Fields. Now, let me tell you something. I think this guy could be one of those guys, not necessarily him, but he could be fool's gold right here. Okay. This could be somebody that someone really reaches on, grabs him because the hype of his name and has some problems early on in his career. But this guy, again, his potential's there. The potential is definitely there. We're going to first look at his strengths. Pocket awareness, right? He's really good in the pocket and mobility in the pocket too, being able to step up and take off. His throwing on the run, I think that's pretty good with him too. His decision making. That being said, I'm trying to talk about more of his, I'm going to throw it to the check down. Okay. If nothing's open down deep, I'm going to hit my check down. And that's something that I see Justin Fields do. He doesn't try to rip it downfield all the time and throw stupid balls that get picked off. So he's pretty smart with checking the ball down, which a lot of college guys honestly are not at this stage. So he's smart, checking it down when he has to. That's really good for his decision making. Mobility is another one of his strengths. I mean, this guy might be the most mobile guy coming out of the draft. And his toughness. I've seen this guy fight, man. And let me tell you something. This guy's a fighter. I think he's going to work hard in the NFL. I think this guy could develop to be one of the best, if not the best quarterback in the draft. But there's a lot of weaknesses on day one that a lot of people aren't mentioning. I'm going to break them down right now. Let's start with his inconsistencies. Again, very talented guy, right? Big guy that can throw the football. He's solid. He's absolutely solid. The question becomes, what does he let his strength, his body become a liability at times rather than working on his mechanics, right? Which is another one of his weaknesses right here. You say, rather than working on his mechanics, maybe he thinks that he's just strong enough to just heave a ball this way or get the ball downfield or step up and take off and run. I think if he really focuses on his mechanics and get those things fixed up and doesn't rely so much on his body, I think this guy could be a lot better. So a lot of his inconsistencies, his inaccuracies, his just not being as mechanical as some of the other guys that I mentioned before, those things can get fixed if he starts to realize that he should not rely so much on his body and go to the mechanics. I mean, you see the all-time greats. Let me just mention the greatest of all time, Tom Brady. Might not be the most talented guy on paper, but the guy is mechanically sound. And then you got guys that are really talented, but they aren't mechanical. And you start to see them throw a little high. They sail one high, they sail one low into the dirt. That's what gets concerning. So he needs to get better with his mechanics. Another thing that I don't see a lot of is his anticipation. he doesn't throw with anticipation. He usually waits for someone to get wide open and then throws a ball, which is kind of concerning for the NFL level. And is it an Ohio State thing? Maybe it is. I mean, we saw a lot of these things with Dwayne Haskins as well, who I didn't have ranked high. I ranked Dwayne Haskins very low. And again, I might get a lot of heat for this one, having him ranked this low, but it's a true concern. His anticipation, he throws to wide open receivers, and he doesn't throw it to when they're cutting. He throws it to wide open Chris Olave 97% of the time. So that's something to look into too. And last but not least, progressions are a huge issue with him. I think that he's a one-trick pony where he looks at the first receiver that is supposed to be thrown to. If he's not open, he takes off running. He doesn't go through his progressions like some of the other guys I'm going to even mention later on in the video. So again, he scores high on my grading scale, but that might not necessarily be enough for me to rank him higher than a few other guys. So I'm going to have my true ranking at the end of this video. But again, he ranks 4th on my list according to my grading scale. Jackson, go ahead, back to you.
Yeah, so there's Justin Fields for you guys, rated out of 76 at the quarterback grade. Let's go take a look at the in-depth breakdown of Justin Fields.
Yes, here you see Justin Fields, and again, you see something that really sticks out as a mobility grade. But let's start with the starting grade, which is a 75%, which I'm pretty sure probably is the lowest to this point that I've had. I can't go back and look at the slides, but I'm pretty sure it definitely is. The next thing I'm going to show you is mobility grade, 92%. That means that he scored 92% of the points that were possibly able to be earned, which is very high for Justin Fields to score. That's one of the highest rankings. This guy, if I had to give you a pro comparison, his pro comparison is definitely a Cam Newton, and I'll break that down later in the video. So Jackson, be sure to remind me about that. I'll give you a little bit of who these guys' NFL comparisons are. But again, 92% for his mobility grade. And last but not least, a 71% for awareness grade. I want to see him be a little bit better in pocket awareness situations, maybe in his decision-making, his progressions, and so on and so forth. So again, over time, these things develop. It's just, do you want to draft Justin Fields early and have a work in progress? That's something that I guess teams on draft night are going to have to decide.
Yeah, absolutely. So you see there, he's got a 92 on mobility grade, but quarterbacks are supposed to throw the ball, so having that low throwing grade is definitely concerning. Let's go look at the breakdown here of Justin Fields. Again, if you guys want to take a screenshot or pause the video, do whatever you got to do if you want to get more in depth into this. But we're going to just keep this thing rolling, and let's jump into the Alabama Crimson Tide quarterback, Mac Jones.
All right, here we go with Mac Jones. Now, Mac Jones, let me tell you something. This guy, a lot of people for some reason are knocking Mac Jones. I'm sorry, I had to grab my pointer back. As you see, I graded him a 74 as his quarterback grade. But Mac Jones, he has a lot of strengths, all right? Last year, he won the national championship. He's a good leader, right? There were some issues early on, supposedly, that he wasn't a great leader. But clearly, he won a national championship, and people like Devontae Smith have his back. He's a really good decision maker. Jackson, what I can't stand? People who can't make up their mind. But this guy, yeah, he can make up his mind fast and go through his progressions extremely quickly with his decision making. 1, 2, 3, release fast, boom, and it's there on point. He might honestly be one of the, if not the most accurate quarterback in this draft. He has great touch, great anticipation. Again, reminded me of like that Phillip Rivers-esque guy. Not as good as Zach Wilson with his anticipation, but he's up there. He is one of the best. And like I said, his progressions are phenomenal. And his weaknesses are his mobility, definitely a weakness. I mean, people complain because he's not mobile, but he's not bad either. I mean, it's a weakness. He's not like a Justin Fields, for crying out loud, or a Trevor Lawrence or a Zach Wilson, but he can still move. He can step up and around in the pocket, so he's not an immovable target. And the last but not least is arm strength. Now, again, that's not zip on the football. That's not velocity. This is how far he can throw. And he's not up there with the best guys. He's not up there with Zach Wilson, for crying out loud. But know who he's up there with? I mean, honestly, you take someone like Trey Lance, who his max distance was only 62 yards, and Mac Jones on film, I saw 55 yards. So, I mean, that's 7 yards of a difference. So, again, it's not much. I mean, the max distance I saw this guy throw was 55 compared to someone like Trey Lance, who's 62, and then you got someone like Zach Wilson, who's special, which is 72. So him compared to Zach Wilson, yeah, there's a difference. Him compared to Trey Lance, I mean, you're only talking 7 yards. And how often are you giving a ball 60-something yards downfield? So Mac Jones, I'm very high on this guy. But Jackson, I'll have it go back to you again. Go ahead.
Yeah, clearly this Mac Jones kid's doing something right, seeing that he is a national championship. But let's hear a more in-depth breakdown of this kid.
Exactly. So here we go again, breaking down the 3 grades that I have. And as you see, his throwing grade, I give him a 76% according to the scale that I use. His mobility has been the lowest to this point at 63%. Again, he's not a mobile guy, but his awareness is pretty high, though, too, to be honest with you, with a 77% for his awareness. Look, this guy's high IQ. He's a fast decision maker. He can get through his progressions, and he's pinpoint accurate. I'm a big fan of this guy, Mac Jones. I truly am. So you'll see in my grading later where I rank Mac Jones.
Yeah, so there's the breakdown there of Mac Jones. So if you guys want to, let's go over to the next slide here. Again, it's going to be the grading scale breakdown here. So if you guys want to pause and take a look at it. But let's jump right in here to the next guy, North Dakota State quarterback Trey Lance.
Yeah, so Trey Lance scored at 72 on my scale. And this is a guy full of potential, but the issue is his lack of experience. Look, he throws with zip. His velocity is up there with the best of them. Okay, he has pretty good arm strength. I mean, I would put that as one of his personal strengths. Compared to Zach Wilson, it's not so great. But again, compared to this class, he's up there with the best of them. His touch, he's very good too with his touch. He's able to get him in there most of the time. Throw a fade or a deep go route. He usually drops him right in there, which is pretty good again for Trey Lance. And his throw on the run, he's very talented on the run. He's able to throw with great velocity, pretty good accuracy on the run. And he's mobile. This guy, if you give him room, he's able to run very well. But now his weaknesses are what really, really scare me with this guy. Lack of experience. Again, this guy only played 1 season, 1 game, and he was recruited to play a safety / linebacker to some of these other top tier schools. The reason why I went to North Dakota was because that was the only team really willing to take him on as a quarterback. And again, look at his strength. I mean, he has a lot of strengths. It's just that he has a lack of experience at the quarterback position and is only 1 season enough to prove to some of these teams to be taken in the top 10. I mean, we're seeing him mocked in at Carolina awfully a lot. So, I mean, is that accurate? And that's something I'll break down later on in this video. Another weakness of his is his inconsistencies. Again, it's going to take time. If you get more experience, you become more consistent. It's very simple. If you works on his mechanics, he becomes more consistent. All these things all add up. He has an accuracy issue. Sometimes he'll just miss guys left, right, high, low. Again, it all comes back from experience and mechanics. And last but not least, his mental adjustments. Again, I just have not seen him make enough audibles at the line of scrimmage. He's only played 1 college year. And is 1 college year enough to go right into the NFL? I mean, again, Mitch Trubisky is another guy that didn't have a lot of college experience, went to the Bears, and you saw how he struggled. So Trey Lance, young kid, has potential. People are relating him to some of these other big names that we'll get to the end of the video so I can answer some of the viewers' questions, some of our fans' questions that they asked us. But again, Trey Lance is he's full of potential, but I just don't know if his lack of experience is far enough for me to say that this guy is a solid, safe choice like some of the other guys above him.
Yeah, so there you go. There's Trey Lance's quarterback grade of a 72. Again, 1 college season. So I have to see how that translates to the NFL. But let's hear this in-depth breakdown of Trey Lance.
So here's his in-depth breakdown. And you see, look, pretty solid with almost everything in the 70s. His throwing grades at a 75%, which is pretty good. Again, he put some zip on that ball. He did throw pretty far. I got him clocked in at 62 yards was his max distance throw. His mobility, he's pretty dang mobile. I still want to see him do it more, but from the film I saw, he was good. And his awareness, 67%. Again, I can't grade it much higher. I mean, this guy only has 1 season played from what I saw. His decision makings, it's up there. It's all right. His progressions are okay, but again, it's not one of these offenses like BYU or Alabama for that matter that are more pro-styled offenses. North Dakota, Clemson, these schools, Ohio State, they're not as much. They're more that college-style offense. Trey Lance was averaging about 15 throws a game in 1 season he played. That's not enough over a course of 1 season for an NFL analyst or a scout on an NFL team to say, yeah, this is our guy. They handed off the ball awfully a lot. He looked good in play action. That's something that he's very familiar with in North Dakota. I'll have to watch some of his pro day. I know he had a pretty decent pro day from what I'm hearing. I'll have to go and watch that and maybe reevaluate some of his things. But again, still a solid grade here. Just needs more experience, and that will boost his awareness grade. Go ahead, Jackson.
Yeah, so this is the in-depth breakdown there of Trey Lance. If you want to go ahead to the grading scale breakdown, once again, if you guys want to pause to take a look at that, let us know what you guys think. But let's jump right into Florida Gators quarterback Kyle Trask.
Yes. So we got Kyle Trask. I'm sorry. Kyle Trask. Look, I gave him a 67, and he had a hell of a year this year in Florida. But when I watched his film, he just did not pop out that much to me. And I don't know what it was. And I'm a Florida fan too. I like Florida a lot. His strengths with his pocket awareness for sure. I had his pocket awareness as one of the highest ranked out of all these guys. Threw a great touch. I mean, Kyle Pitts and him were on a connection, man. And I can tell you something. If this guy gets somebody that he's familiar with, he might be special with that guy. He didn't throw in tight windows too. He's pretty decent with that, squeezing them in the end zone. I saw he fired a lot of in on like the 2-yard line to people. And I was like, should he be making that throw? But what? If you didn't squeeze it in there, you didn't squeeze it in there. So he can throw in tight windows. But with that being said, it kind of scares me because his arm strength isn't the greatest. He can't throw one. He just heave one downfield like the best of them. He doesn't put a lot of zip on. I know I just said in the red zone he does a little bit, but it's more like fades and lofts and just good route running by the receiver so he can throw it to an open guy. But yeah, he can still get him into some tight windows. So that's kind of counterintuitive, but that's what I saw with Kyle Trask. Sometimes he showed me some strengths, sometimes he showed me some weaknesses. He's somebody that I'm a little hesitant on. I from the first, just watching his film, I didn't love what I saw from him. I saw some really good things. I saw some really bad things. And another thing is his lack of mobility too. Again, he can move a little bit. He's just not very mobile like some of these other guys that we have scouted already. Him and Matt Jones are about even, kind of, I would say. So let's hop into the next one, Jets, and I'll go right to the in-grade thing, considering I messed that up already. So let's hop right there. Here's the in-depth breakdown, and you see the throwing grades is 70%, right? I got him at a 70% here. Again, I just didn't love it. He doesn't throw with a lot of velocity. He doesn't heave them downfield. His accuracy is all over the place. He has some inconsistencies. So I did give him a 70 there. His mobility grades a 58%. Again, he's just not that mobile. He can move a little bit around. Really good in the pocket. Pocket mobility and mobility are different things, guys. Pocket mobility is stepping up in the pocket and maybe delivering a ball, maybe buying some more time. Mobility is actually moving around. So again, mobility here, 58%. He doesn't move much, and when he does, it's not that great and fancy. And his awareness, 67%. Again, I just want to see this guy. I might have to re-scout maybe if you guys disagree with me, but I don't have that high of a grade on Kyle Trask. Jackson, go ahead.
Yeah, so there's the in-depth breakdown there of the Florida Gators product in Kyle Trask. Let's go into the grading scale breakdown. Once again, you guys know the drill. If you want to pause and take a look at it, let us know what you guys think in the comment section below. We're going to just keep this thing rolling. We're going to jump into Jamie Newman.
Yeah, so Jamie Newman. When I first turned on his highlights, I was like, why is this guy so low down the list? His touch. He has good anticipation, good decision-making. He's mobile, right? And then after watching the highlights, I turned on the game film. And that's where you started to see the inconsistencies, the lack of pocket awareness. He gets sacked way too much. I mean, turn on the Reese's Senior Bowl. This guy was just, he looked bad. Bad. He was constantly under pressure. But let me tell you something. He didn't look good under pressure. One mistake after another, it just was kind of scaring me. So, again, let's go back to his strengths. His touch is good. Wake Forest, you go and watch him and Sage Surratt. He had a hell of a connection. And, again, just like I said with Kyle Trask, if he can find someone that he can build a connection with, this guy could be that guy that we can be like, all right, well, if he can work on some of these things, and I got a lot of weaknesses, maybe he could be an average quarterback in the NFL, but he's not coming into the NFL ready at all. He has a lot of inconsistencies that he needs to fix. So it's his inconsistencies, his lack of pocket awareness, his bad accuracy. You see him throw some balls in the dirt, some balls left, some balls right, all over the place. Needs to become more accurate. His throwing under pressure is not good. When he's under pressure, this guy just starts to get a little wild. His throwing on the run capability, again, when he starts to move around, when he's under pressure, the balls look bad. Real bad. And his mental adjustments, For the amount of times I saw him sat to the Reese's Senior Bowl, I thought maybe he would call an audible to maybe add a blocker. Didn't see anything. I mean, this guy was under constant duress, and it's not just that one game. It happened in multiple film studies of this guy. So it kind of scares me a little bit with his awarenesses. I mean, again, his pocket awareness. We see his mental adjustments. Those are all things under that awareness thing that kind of scare me with him. But Jackson, I'll go back down to you. Go ahead.
Yeah, so there you go. There's Jamie Newman, quarterback grade of a 65, but let's jump right in here to his in-depth breakdown.
So here you go. His throwing grade, as you see, I gave him a 68%, which is his highest of the three. He's a pretty good thrower of the football. That's his best thing for him. But again, he needs to work out some of those flaws. You go to the mobility grade, 63%. I was a little harsh on this, but I don't know what it was. It's just he was not as solid as some of those other guys. He's more mobile than some of the other guys we listed before, but it's just that he uses his mobility as a bailout option, and I just don't like it. One thing that really factored into him having a low mobility grade is his lack of pocket mobility. I mean, he's decent in the pocket, but he's not great in the pocket, and his pocket awareness definitely lowered him down too for his awareness grade. So that's why he had such low grades. Not one budging that 70. I mean, you got this one at 68, but none of them cracking that 70% margin. Go ahead.
Yeah, there you go. There's the in-depth breakdown of Jamie Newman again. Let's go over to the grading scale breakdown. Again, if you guys want to pause and take a look at that, we're going to jump into our last guy here, and it's going to be, Iowa State quarterback Brock Purdy.
Yeah, Brock Purdy, 64, okay? Brock Purdy, he had strengths, and I want to see if anyone realizes what it is. Pocket mobility, throwing on the run, okay? Clearly, his strengths, when I watched this guy, was moving around, and his throwing was his bad side, and that's kind of scary to say. I mean, usually you want it the other way around, maybe not so mobile, but good at throwing the ball. He has a lot of inconsistencies. His arm strength's not the greatest. He can't heave it downfield. He doesn't put a lot of zip on his footballs. He doesn't throw. He doesn't really contest a lot of, he doesn't throw a lot of, let me put it this way. He doesn't put a lot of balls or squeeze a lot of balls in tight windows, nor does he really attempt to throw balls in tight windows. I think because he knows that his throw power is not really there. His zip on the ball is not really there. And he does not throw with anticipation, and he has a lack of decision-making. I mean, it's bad. I turned on his film. I wasn't happy with what I saw. This guy might be like a 4th, 5th round pick, but this is like the Jake Fromm from last year. I'm not too happy. Lack of arm, lack of zip. This was my least favorite prospect and my last prospect that I scouted for the quarterback position.
Yeah, so there you go. Brock Purdy graded at a 64. Again, not the greatest, but let's jump into the in-depth breakdown of Brock Purdy.
So here's Brock Purdy, and again, you see he scores a really good mobility grade, but his other grades are kind of a lack. And the throwing grade of a 61 is not the greatest thing to want to see. So his 61% for his throwing grade, again, needs to get a lot better of a thrower. If he can somehow fix his throwing, fixes some of his awareness issues like decision-making and his pocket awareness, then this grade will definitely go up and he'll be an average quarterback. But there's a lot of flaws in this kid. So again, his throwing is a 61, his mobility is a 79, and his awareness is a 63%.
Yes, and there you go. So the in-depth breakdown of Brock Purdy. Let's go to the grading scale breakdown. Again, you guys want to pause and take a look at it. But there you go. Those are our guys there. We're going to look at the 2021 quarterback draft prospect categories. Who is, kind of the best guy for each spot. So we're going to jump into that next slide here and let Nick take it away right here.
Yeah, so I hate ranking quarterbacks, and I know a lot of people are going to hate me for saying that, but I do have a ranking for you guys at the end because I know that's what you guys will love. I like to do things like this. I feel like every quarterback in the world fits a category rather than or a situation rather than a ranking. Okay? So let's start with Trevor Lawrence. I feel like this guy is for sure the safest pick. I mean, this guy, he's won a national championship. He played against a lot of high talent. I don't really factor that in there, but I know a lot of fans do. He's a solid quarterback. I mean, a lot of people are saying he's like as good as Andrew Luck was coming out. I wouldn't say so myself. I didn't really do an in-depth scouting of Andrew Luck, but from what I hear, Andrew Luck was like the best all time. I'll tell you somebody that I think that he's worse. Trevor Lawrence is worse than already. But I do think that he's the safest pick in this NFL draft. So Jacksonville, secure your guy in Trevor Lawrence. I think that is that you'll hit on him. And there's no when you talk about a floor and a ceiling, this guy's floor is a average NFL quarterback. Okay, he's not going to be a bust. I think his floor is an average NFL quarterback. So you can't go wrong drafting Trevor Lawrence. Zach Wilson's my most potential this year. And these are the guys that are usually the guys that just step up and do insane things. I haven't finalized my final grading yet and stuff. Again, I still got to watch their pro days. So all this can change. But right now, he's my most potential. He has a cannon of an arm. He can move. He's accurate. He throws with great anticipation. I think this guy definitely has most potential. We'll just have to wait and see if his injury history kind of sneaks up behind him. And his decision-making, some of his lack of decision-making. But one guy I want to do a comparison to right now before Jackson makes me forget is I compare Zach Wilson to Baker Mayfield, okay? Gunslinger, likes to rip it downfield. But I think Zach Wilson is better than Baker Mayfield coming out as a prospect. So there's that for you. The next guy's Kellen Mond. I think this guy's an absolute sleeper. And I literally wrote that here. That's his category. This guy, draft night, right? Remember Mahomes when he just suddenly got drafted and everyone said he was a bust? I'm not comparing Kellen Mond to Pat Mahomes. Don't start panicking. But what I am saying is this is a guy that nobody's talking about in the first round that may be that middle pick, that 15, 18, 20 range pick that everyone's like, what? We thought it was Fields. We thought it was Lance, right? Well, Fields and Lance are sliding down boards. Kellen Mond, Mac Jones, rising boards, in my opinion, at least in my scouting analysis. Mac Jones is my next guy, and I think this guy is ready. He's NFL ready. He's the real deal. This guy's mechanics, his decision-making, his anticipation. He might not be the most mobile guy, but if you want a guy to go into a system right now and perform, yeah, Mac Jones is your guy, okay? Mac Jones is a guy that can step in right now and be a good starting quarterback right away. Same thing with Lawrence, same thing with Wilson, same thing with Jones. These other three guys need some work. Let's go to Justin Fields. He's athletic, but needs some work. Again, he has all the physicals you would ever want. My pro comparison for Mac Jones, by the way, Phillip Rivers. My pro comparison for Justin Fields, Cam Newton. Listen, him and Cam Newton are just big guys that are extremely physical running the football, and they got cannons of an arm. Justin Fields, when throwing downfield, mechanically looks sound. It's when he has the easy throws. The underneath throws is when his accuracy, where he thinks that his physicals are going to be, are going to take over. And that's where I kind of disagree with what he does. So he needs to fix his mechanics. He needs to learn to go through his progressions. I think if he gets with a good quarterback coach and a good offensive-minded coach, that maybe he sits a year, this guy could become that guy that's really good. Throwing the football, I grade him better than a Lamar Jackson. Running the football, below Lamar Jackson. But again, I'm comparing to Lamar because I scouted Lamar. And one thing with Justin Fields is that he's a better thrower. He has a great arm. He can throw it very good with his velocity on his throws. It's just his inconsistencies and his needing to get better mechanics for Justin Fields. And last but not least, Trey Lance. And this guy needs work and needs experience. And I'm hard on him. A lot of people are comparing him to some names, and we'll mention this at the end of the video. But Trey Lance needs some work, and he needs more experience. 1 year in a college system in North Dakota, that's not getting it done for me. It's not getting it done for me. It's not. Carson Wentz, they're comparing him to Carson Wentz. Not so much. Trey Lance has all the things that you want in a guy, but I haven't seen him do it on a consistent basis, and I think he needs more experience. So he's going to be a guy that's going to be a project. Him and Fields both, in my opinion, and Mond for that matter, are projects, but I feel like Mond is already mechanically sound, where Justin Fields and Trey Lance need more reps and need to become more mechanically sound and work through their progressions better.
Yep, so there you go. There are your quarterback draft prospect categories. Let's jump into the next slide here where it's going to be your 2021 quarterback rankings. Nick, go ahead.
All right, so here it is, folks. Here's my 2021 quarterback rankings. You guys want me to rank people? Here it is, okay? And this is based on before the pro days, okay? Trevor Lawrence ranks 1. And the reason why I'm saying that again is because I just feel like he's the safest guy. I truly do. My number 2 guy is Zach Wilson. Again, I don't feel like you can miss on the top 3 guys here. Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Mac Jones. I feel like it's these 2 are the top, and then it falls off. And then I feel like it's honestly kind of just like Mac Jones. He's like the only other guy that's NFL ready. And then it drops off, and it's like, yeah, Kellen Mond can be your starting quarterback too. He's mechanically sound. He can run an NFL offense. So he's the next guy. And then it falls off. And then you got your 2 guys in Trey Lance and Justin Fields, where it's like, yeah, they got a heck of a lot of potential, but they got to get better through progressions. They need more experience. They need to be in an NFL ready offense, all this stuff. The only thing that I got to knock on Trevor Lawrence is compared to Zach Wilson is that Trevor Lawrence, again, he plays in a cute style college offense with Clemson. Zach Wilson lets it rip downfield. And that's what I want to see. I want to see, when I scout people, I want to see someone rip it downfield to these receivers in tight windows. Trevor Lawrence, a lot of the time, inconsistent going downfield, inaccurate at times. And last but not least, the other thing I want to mention is Zach Wilson, on the other hand, very solid with his accuracies, very solid with his anticipations, very solid in an NFL-style offense. So there's my difference between Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson, I see him do NFL things already. Trevor Lawrence, yeah, he has those splashes, but I don't see him do it on a consistent enough basis. Again, safest pick, but Zach Wilson is already looking like he might be a potentially better thrower in the long run.
Yep, so there you go. There are your 2021 quarterback rankings. And let's jump into the next slide here. It's going to be the 2021 draft compared to the 2020 rankings via last year's grade scale. Nick, go ahead.
Yeah, so this is just using my grade scale like we did in the earlier parts, right? In the very beginning when we opened it up, I showed you the grades according to my scale. According to my scale, this is how 2021 guys rank to the 2020 guys, okay, using last year's data. Okay, so since I improved my scale, I can't use the new things and re-scout the guys from last year. I got to use last year's scale and apply it to the guys from this year. So with using that scale, you start to see some crazy things. You start to see Zach Wilson passing someone like Trevor Lawrence, which is not on this year's scale. So on the 2020 scale, Zach Wilson would have been graded higher than Trevor Lawrence. But again, let's go right down the line. So Justin Herbert still ranked as my top quarterback compared using last year's scale to this year. So Justin Herbert will be number 1. Zach Wilson's number 2. Joe Burrow, number 3. Trevor Lawrence, number 4. Now that's kind of scary, but Jackson, if I'm not mistaken, my 2020 analysis was pretty good with my board. So this is just plugging these guys into that scale. And Trevor Lawrence ranks 4, surprisingly. So that's kind of strange. Jordan Love on my last year's scale would rank 5. Kellen Mond right underneath him with 6. Justin Fields 7. Mac Jones 8. Trey Lance 9. Tua 10. That's using my 2020 scale and comparing it to my 2021 guys. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. So there you go. There's the 2021 guys and compared to 2020 using last year's grade scale. Let's jump into the final slide of the evening. It's going to be about the same thing, but it's going to be via personal analysis. Nick, go ahead.
Yeah, so then this is me bringing in my own, I guess you just say bias here, or whatever you want to say, or this is me saying screw the damn scales that I use. But this is me now starting to put some things together right away. And I want to look at 4 short picks. And it's crazy because, again, I still think that Justin Herbert is a better thrower of the football than Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is more mobile. Justin Herbert is a better thrower of the football. You can mark that down right now. I had Justin Herbert ranked higher than Trevor Lawrence. And people might be shocked with that, but that's just the way it is. I was very high on Herbert compared to Lawrence. Then you got Lawrence 2 on my scale, okay? Because I feel like he's just a safe pick. I feel like he's safer than Zach Wilson, but I feel like Zach Wilson's ceiling is higher than Trevor Lawrence. Not much higher, but it is higher. I feel like because his extended arm strength and his anticipation, all that stuff, is just honestly phenomenal. So Zach Wilson ranks 3 compared to the 2020 guys. Joe Burrow would be 4, okay? And this is still ranking him like last year, so 4. Number 5 would be Kellen Mond. So Kellen Mond ranks right behind Joe Burrow. Right after Kellen Mond would be Mac Jones. After Mac Jones, Jordan Love. After Jordan Love, Justin Fields. So that shows you here that I got Mac Jones ranked higher than Justin Fields and Trey Lance. But I also got Jordan Love and Joe Burrow, guys that are already in the NFL, higher than Justin Fields and Trey Lance. And then last but not least, Tua, who I was not high on that much at all last year in the draft.
Yeah, so that was our final slide of the evening. Let us know what you guys think of this presentation style thing that we put together. We're going to cut back to Nick and I, and we're going to answer some fan submitted questions via YouTube and Instagram.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys there.
All right, here we are, me and Nick back on screen for you guys. So we're going to answer some fan submitted questions here, and we're just going to jump right into it here. So the first question we got here is, do you see any similarities between Mac Jones and Drew Brees?
So Mac Jones and Drew Brees, let's start with this. Drew Brees, I mean, when we think of Drew Brees in our brain, okay, smaller guy who was pinpoint accurate, right? And that's exactly what we think. I mean, throws with anticipation, has zip, not the longest throws, but can hit him within range. Mac Jones, let me be honest with you. Yes. If we were to just compare, absolutely, that's another option, right? I have Mac Jones more of a Phillip Rivers-esque kind of a guy, right? But Drew Brees is another option. Drew Brees is kind of similar to both of them in the sense that Mac Jones has velocity on his balls, right? He can zip them in there. He's very mechanically sound, okay? Goes through his progressions phenomenally well. The only thing that I'm going to say is that Mac Jones, the only knock on this guy, and everyone wants to knock him, the main knock on him, he doesn't have this huge cannon where he can launch 100 yards downfield. Again, the guy can launch when the max I saw him on film was 55 yards. Compare that to anybody else in this draft, it's not that bad. It doesn't grade that bad. It really doesn't. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, 63. Justin Fields, 63. Zach Wilson, 72. Trey Lance, 62. Again, then you get people like Kyle Trask, 57. So him and Mac Jones have about similar arm for how far they go. Jamie Newman, 56. Kellen Mond got 60, and then Brock Purdy got 55. So he's even with Mac Jones. But yeah, I do see a similarity with Mac Jones, Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers, that kind of quarterback. Not the most mobile guy, but a guy that's accurate and makes decisions like this, progressions 1, 2, 3, anticipates the balls. Absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah, so there you go. That was a great question there. So let's hop into the next question here. Who would you compare Trevor Lawrence to in the NFL right now?
See, that's a tough one. I'm going to be honest with you. Trevor Lawrence is his own man. There ain't the only guy I can honestly compare him to, and this might sound like a terrible comparison, but seriously, body physically wise would be a Justin Herbert. I mean, they're both 6'6", bigger guys, tall, lengthy. Right? When you look at Justin Herbert, big, tall, lengthy guy. You look at Trevor Lawrence, big, tall, lengthy guy. They both have that long hair, right? They play similar. I think Justin Herbert's a better thrower of the football. I think Trevor Lawrence is a better runner of the football. And then you got their awareness and IQ in there. All in all, when I put Lawrence on my 2020 grade scale, Herbert ranked better. And I mean, that might sound shocking, but that's just me. And I've been, we all the way at the beginning of the video, we showed my track record, and so far it's been pretty good. Maybe I'm wrong here, but I'm just giving you what I got. Go ahead.
Yep. So next question here, is Trey Lance overrated?
Is Trey Lance overrated? And that's a good question. I'm tired of hearing the comparisons to Josh Allen, because here's what it is, okay? Everyone's so upset that they missed on Josh Allen that now they're trying to overcompensate and find the next Josh Allen. I never missed the first Josh Allen, and I'm not going to pretend to find the second Josh Allen. So no, he's not Josh Allen. He's not even close to Josh Allen. Josh Allen, I mean, that guy had an absolute, I think this guy can throw 80-something yards downfield through the air. Trey Lance, 62. Josh Allen get a ball like this. Trey Lance, Josh Allen, but Wyoming, he looked pretty dang good when he was there. He was actually going to possibly declare the year before he came out, and he was going to be drafted. Trey Lance, 1 year, they would only throw the ball about 15 times a game. Kind of scary. Not a lot of experience. Was supposed to be a safety linebacker, decided to go to North Dakota to be the quarterback. And good thing he did. Again, I like what I see. He has a lot of potential. It's just, is he overhyped? Absolutely. And I watched the other day. I did watch one clip from his pro day. And I haven't watched it yet, but just at one clip, he threw a 55-yard ball in the air, and it was a good throw. And they're like, oh my God, that's amazing throw. That's the best throw we've seen. That's amazing. I'm like, that was 55 yards. I remember seeing Josh Allen throw him 60-something yards in the combine, and they're all like, oh, this guy's inaccurate. Oh, this guy's inconsistent. Oh, this guy's not good. Well, now why are we overcompensating for Trey Lance? Okay, so no, Trey Lance is no Josh Allen, but that's that. Go ahead.
All right, so the next question here. What are the flaws in Trevor Lawrence's game?
There are flaws in Trevor Lawrence's game. Let's start with that. There is. Okay. And I know that I might be going out on a limb and people might think I'm crazy, but there absolutely is flaws. And one of them is his inconsistencies. Don't watch the highlight reel. Watch the game film. Watch him miss throws. Watch him throw a ball by 3-4 yards. Watch a lot of his plays be passed down to Travis Etienne, which is a good thing. Get the ball into your playmaker's hands. That's the job of the quarterback. But too many, maybe. Maybe we're seeing that, hey, yeah, Travis Etienne, let me give it to him, and then I'm going to give the ball to the playmaker to let the playmaker make a move. Is Trevor Lawrence a playmaker, or is Travis Etienne the playmaker? That's what we got to start asking ourselves. I'm going to be honest with you. I was very happy with the film I saw on Travis Etienne. When I watched Trevor Lawrence in depth, he's a good athlete. He's a great quarterback. I think he's going to be solid. But a lot of the work was on his playmaker's hands. So
yeah, so there you go. So this is a good question right here. Do you think Kyle Trask could develop into a great quarterback? He could sit behind the likes of Tom Brady or Matt Stafford for a few years and learn.
You know, Kyle Trask had a hell of a season, and I had him ranked low because I don't look at statistics and stuff. I watched the film, and when I watched the film, he wasn't amazing. He reminds me of a bigger. I honestly don't know. It's like from last year. I'm trying to compare it to last year. It reminds me of like a Jacob Eason height with a Jake Fromm arm, which is kind of scary to me. Could he? Yes. Will he? Would have had to put money on it? No. I mean, that's just me being honest. I like Kyle Trask. I just don't see him panning out like some of these other guys. Well, could he sit behind a guy? Absolutely. But I honestly don't think that he has just the natural talent that some of these other guys have.
Yeah, so there you go. Next question here. Why is Zach Wilson rising and Justin Fields falling?
Why is Zach Wilson rising and Justin Fields falling?
Yep.
Who said that? That's a good question.
I think that was CP Gaming.
All right. So Zach Wilson is rising because when you turn on his film, you're seeing him make a lot of throws all over the place. I mean, we've been hearing Justin Fields now for a long time, and Zach Wilson kind of came out of nowhere. But it's because of what Zach Wilson was able to do this year. It's just like Joe Burrow. We didn't hear anything about Joe Burrow until we saw him with that LSU team. Zach Wilson is making NFL throws. Zach Wilson's going through his progressions, right? You're up there, right? 1, 2, 3, fire it away, right? Making really good throws, anticipating throws, throwing where the receivers are going to be and not where they're currently at. A lot of good stuff from Zach Wilson. Justin Fields, when you watch film more, as you study more and more film, you start to see the inconsistencies, the lack of mechanics, some of the flaws. So really deep dive. Don't watch just the highlights. I mean, Justin Fields' highlights are great. Downfield, when Justin Fields is going deep, right? He looks really good. Caught it back, right? Fires one deep, right? But then when he's doing the short throws, a lot of things, and I actually saw Chris Sims talking about this, talking about quarterbacks of the last few years. A lot of quarterbacks, I mean, they'll throw like this, up and over, right? Like an up and over move. But it's really, you're supposed to go to the side, okay? When you're done, it's supposed to go to the side, okay? And let it roll off. A lot of times we see the fluctuation of the high and low passes from Fields and people because they're just going up and over, right? Which if you release it too late, right, it's low. Or if you release it too early, you send it high. So again, and then with a suit, I can't really show a great demonstration, but that's what it is. So there's a lot of inconsistencies in Justin Fields' games, not so many in Zach Wilson's game. Throwing the ball.
Yeah, so great question there. Next question. Who is most likely going to be the bust or a bust?
So, I mean, it depends. Again, we're going to have a segment on this later on, but if I had to say one right now, I mean, Jackson, I'm going to have you throw me out a few names, and I'll tell you give me a list to choose from.
All right, so let's start here. Let's go Kellen Mond.
No, well, that's just one guy. I like Kellen Mond. But I'm saying, give me a list of guys to choose from, so I have to choose one that's a bust. I'll choose the worst. If it's up to me, I'll say the bust is Brock Purdy. You know what I'm saying? But name me 5 guys or 3 guys you want me to choose from, and I'll tell you which one I would say is a bust.
All right, 3 guys here. Let's go.
I don't know if you're there. Are you still there?
Justin.
Time out. We can't hear you. You're breaking up. Say something again.
Hello. All right, 3 guys. Justin Fields, Trey Lance, and Kellen Mond.
Justin Fields, Trey Lance, and Kellen Mond. Out of those 3 guys, all right. So Kellen Mond, I put on a different level than those 2. Okay, I think that his throwing the football is better, and I think if he gets a little bit looser, right? And another example, real fast, I actually show you because I wanted to show you guys this in the before. Kellen Mond's always up. He's like the perfect quarterback. He holds the ball up here, right, looking downfield, perfect. Okay, when you got someone like Aaron Rodgers and stuff, and Pat Mahomes would like to hold it down here, right? I mean, that looks familiar, right? You're a Chiefs fan, like to hold it down here. Aaron Rodgers down here. Kellen Mond's up here, right? Always 2 hands on the ball, looking downfield to make a throw, right? Turning his body, boom, 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 going through his progressions. The other 2 guys that you mentioned, Trey Lance, good at play action and stuff. If I had to choose one right now, just because of experience purposes, I would have to go with Trey Lance as a bust. But honestly, I would say either of Fields or Lance could be the bust. I mean, both of them have some very risky factors. I think Kellen Mond's more safer than both of those 2.
Yep. So there you go. So next question here. Who should go at 8 overall, which for clarification, right now it's the Carolina Panthers pick.
Yeah, so Carolina. So if they stay there, and let's say Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence are most likely off the board, so we got the rest of the guys. Well, you guys know my list, right? It was Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, okay? And after those 2, it goes Kellen Mond and Mac Jones. Kellen Mond, I don't think is as NFL ready as Mac Jones. Okay, a lot of things are saying Trey Lance. I'm telling you, I wouldn't be surprised if this guy falls to the late first, early second round because of his experience. Really, I would go with Mac Jones. Hit the easy targets. Look, Carolina, you got Christian McCaffrey, right? 3 years. I mean, you want someone that's gonna be good now, be good for Christian, be good for DJ Moore, be good for Robbie Anderson and Brian Burns and Jeremy Chin and Dante Jackson, right? The Derek Brown. If you get a project that's going to take 3 years, well, guess what? Now you got to make a decision. Am I paying my quarterback or am I bringing all those guys back? And that's not a decision you want to make. So right now you got a lot of superstar talent. Run with it. Get a quarterback that's ready to go now, that can win now. Not a project, someone that can win now. And I think that guy is Mac Jones if he's still there.
Yep. So there you go. We got 2 more questions tonight. So what should the Jets do with the number 2 overall pick?
So the New York Jets is the one that I love to flirt around with. I am a huge fan of Zach Wilson. Huge fan of Zach Wilson. Really am. But maybe Carolina does something better for their organization and they trade up to 2 and they flop with the Jets, right? So if the Jets go down to 8, now they go and get someone like Kyle Pitts and Carolina gets Zach Wilson. I would have a freaking heyday if that happens. Because now, I look, Sam the Man Darnold, he's kind of shaky right now. I don't know if he's so much the man anymore. Okay? So we got to start thinking, should we move on? But I say this, Denzel Mims, Jamison Crowder, and now Corey Davis, Kyle Pitts, the best tight end, Travis Etienne in the late first round this year. You draft the right tackle in the early second round. That's a new damn Jets team. That's a new Jets team. I'm cheering for the Jets. Sam fails, you draft the quarterback next year, but don't rush Zach Wilson into the system. Get people around. So then if Sam the Man's not the guy, then you draft one next year, but no, or get one next year. I think this seems a few pieces away. I feel like you got to get pieces for Sam Darnold. And I feel like if you trade down, you pick up you get a next year's first round pick too, probably a 2022 NFL draft pick from the Panthers. Panthers go up, they get Zach Wilson. You get 2 first round picks, one this year, one next year, and probably a second this year as well. So that's a hell of a lot for the Carolina Panthers. I mean, for the New York Jets.
Yep. So our last question this evening, what do you think about Mac Jones personally? I think he's overrated.
Okay, so that guy, so not you, but the guy that's saying his things, right?
Yeah.
All right, so for him, I don't think that he's overrated. I think that is honestly a little, depends who you're talking to. He's flying up boards now because more people are noticing what he's doing. Look, usually Jackson and everyone, Mike would tell you too, I usually look at who has the biggest arm, who has the most velocity, who's mobile. Matt Jones was so low on my grading scale because he didn't match those things. But for some reason, I'm adding an exception this year, and that's only Matt Jones. And I usually don't do this, but I'm doing it for Matt. There's just something special about the kid. There's something there. I don't know what it is, but when he has a ball in his hands, okay, he makes decisions like this. Most guys, Justin Fields, for example, Chris Olave. All right, I'm going to take over and run. Okay? Matt Jones hikes the ball. 1, 2. He won't even be at his third progression, and he'll hit him. So, I mean, or he'll just know where someone is. He'll be looking here, right? And just know someone's running a slant that side. Looking, not there. Boom, send it. And he just knows. It's like instinct. I'm a fan of Matt Jones, and it's an exception. I usually wouldn't say this because I don't like not having the biggest arm and all this, but he's pretty solid when you watch his film. So, no, yeah, I do think that I got Matt Jones ranked where I have him ranked because that's where I think he's ranked. So, I don't know if you think I have him. Do you think I have him overrated? Maybe. That is all personal opinion, but I think I have him right where he should be.
Yeah, so that was our last question of the night. I hope you guys enjoyed this. No, this was an extra long video for you guys, but it was a good one to make. I had a good time hosting it for our analyst, Nick, here. If you guys want to see these kind of videos for the other positions, let us know in the comment section below. Who are your guys' favorite quarterbacks? Let us know in the comment section below. I'm Jackson.
I'm Nick.
From Top Notch Sports. We are
Built Better. See you guys soon.
See you guys next time.